with tattoos, we all know that they're just supposed to be that moment in your life at that point of time, and that's what you're sort of giving a permanent space to. So I'm laughing about it, but there's also just it's almost nice that I had like that moment with my two best friends, and I will always remember that. When I'm like 50 or 60 or 80, I'll be like, oh yeah, I was in New York. Like I'll be telling this exact same story.
I mean, India has a deep and rich history of tribal tattoos. I'm from Orissa, I'm not from here. So my dad's grandmother, who I actually did have the honor of like meeting and having a relationship with when I was younger, she used to tattoo in her tribal village.
Oh, cool.
And it's a very, very, very small village. Like, it's probably like, I remember visiting when I was really young, it was like just a few, like huts and like families that were around.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Don't Run Into Glass, a podcast hosted by thecitizen.in. I'm Gayeti.
And I'm Anica.
And Anica, why are we not in your house or my house? We're in this
Today we've come to a special studio. I think we are here surrounded by arts of all kind, but we're going to talk to a very special lady who's created art all over me in the past 2-3 years. I mean, by all over me, they're in hidden spots. Like, hey Shyamli, hi.
Hi, what's up?
So Shyamli, for our audiences, why don't you tell us what you do?
I'm Shyamli, as she said. I'm a tattoo artist. I've been practicing for about 11 years. And she's wrong, I haven't tattooed her all over yet.
There's a lot of space left. There's lots of space left.
That is true.
But Shyamli, we have been trying to get you on this podcast like
for a while.
For a long time.
Yes.
And our dates have just not been matching up, but finally. And then I think we also wanted to get tattoos, but we are not getting tattoos. We're going to film you tattooing a client of yours. Right?
I mean, you should have seen me coordinate the dates of two really busy ladies. Shyamli, who is traveling all over the country and all over the world doing the work that she does. And then Gayeti, who is a mother, business lady, and also runs The Citizen. And it was me in between, who is never leaving Delhi. And I'm like, wow, these travel dates are too intense.
Yeah.
So work really takes you places, no?
Work takes me places. I think it's right now my personal life is also taking me places. I just let work also follow me wherever I go. It just gives me a sense of like belonging wherever I go. Otherwise, I just feel way more scattered than usual. But I've tattooed you for like a few years now, so I've been wanting to have you over as well. It feels good.
Yeah, I know. I'm happy to be here. But let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
How did you get into something like this? And what does one have to do to train for it? Was there a plant poking you?
No, I thought something buzzed behind. Sorry, what was the question?
How did you get into this?
Right. So I graduated as a graphic designer. That was 2009. And I straight up, like within a month of graduating, jumped into working as a graphic designer. And I was hating my life as a graphic designer. It wasn't paying me very much. I was definitely not very good at it. But at that point in time, I met Lokesh, the guy who runs Devil's Tattoos.
And where is that?
This is in Delhi itself.
That was the one one of the first ones that existed, that everyone used to go to when they were considering getting a tattoo like 10 years ago.
Yeah, honestly, I'd never heard of it.
Oh, really?
I never heard of it. I just chanced
I
upon
had
the
heard
studio.
of it, but I'd seen its address and I was like, suspect address.
I mean, it also had like 2 Z's in the name.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was cool at some point.
Back
then that was cool,
yeah. The Z's were cool. So I was like, And I saw the studio and I saw Lokesh's work, and Lokesh at that point in time was like, you should just learn how to tattoo. And the idea like stuck in my head for a couple of months. And then eventually I did quit my job and I just started learning with him about like a year down the line. So I almost waited a year after meeting him for the first time. And that was basically it. I think the reason why I stuck to tattooing is because I quit my job. Like I quit a whole life and then I just like threw myself into this. And then I had no option but to make it work. I sort of like, I had to prove to like all the people who were like, this is a bad idea.
Which must have been a lot of people, right? Like
there were quite a few
everyone,
people.
Pretty much. Like, girl, get a
parents
get a
were
side hustle,
My parents, I think, they just always have viewed me with like, what is she going to do next sort of thing. And my dad was concerned about like me making money eventually, doing tattooing, and he was like, why did I pay for 4 years of college if you were just gonna tattoo?
And which you've pretty much self-taught or learned with Lokesh outside
exactly.
of a formal like educational space.
But that was their only concern really, like seeing me be like financially independent eventually.
Fair enough, and I think that's all parents. I mean, I know this is like a cliched question. Like we ask anyone who chooses an alternative career path, oh,
Like,
what did your parents say? How are you
Yeah.
going to make money? Exactly.
That's
So,
honestly, that's my question to everybody who does like PhDs.
yeah. How are you going to make money?
So even I don't entirely get how like an informal system of finances works. Like
Yeah.
for me, it is very like skill based. Like I do this, and in turn, somebody pays me to do.
But you know,
that, like, very
That's a
particular
great point, this
service.
debate, this technical skill versus intellectual skill, right?
Yeah.
Like, what gets paid better? You know?
No, and you know, it's you're always on the other side. So I kind of like, I mean, Anica and I both more from the intellectual skill space, and I always say advice I will give my child is, she might not listen to me, probably will not, but the advice I will give her is to pick up a technical skill, like something that's very tangible. I do this, I get paid for this, you know? It's just this kind of like, because I'm just always trying to figure out, what do I really do? I mean, what do I do? Okay, yeah, sure, I run, you know, I'm a journalist and I sort of do other things or whatever, but they're all not tangible, you know, like they're, whereas if you're a tattoo artist or a graphic designer, an interior decorator, or like, you know, a lawyer or whatever, it's a more tangible
it's a
skill
skill.
set.
It's a technical skill that you use your hands with, you know, essentially.
I mean, there's obvious value in both.
Yeah, it is, it's always the grass. I mean, for me, it seems like it's a bit of the grass is greener on the other side, but like you seem quite content with the fact that like you've chosen a, I mean, do you love tattooing?
Yeah.
You do love it.
I think in fact, I loved tattoos, which is why I got into tattooing, but I have now grown to really love the process of tattooing.
Yeah.
Because I think it took me a while, it took me a good solid like 6 years to finally feel comfortable in the fact that I was a tattoo artist, because for 6 years I was always like, this is what I'm doing for money, but otherwise I'm a blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's only like after I found myself sort of honing that skill to a point where it felt like a very fluent language.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, then you sort of like start to experiment and build on like your previous skill sets, and you discover, you make mistakes still.
Yeah.
You still like fumble, but you like learn with everything that you do, and that's when it starts to get really interesting.
Yeah. And now you're a pretty, I mean, established tattoo artist, like at least in Delhi or amongst the people that I know. We're meeting for the first time, but amongst the people that I know, everyone always talks about like getting their tattoos from Shyamli. Like it's a
common thing.
But
right?
it is also a small, like India is a small pool of people.
Yeah.
And how many women are in this pool of people doing what you do?
There is now a rising number of young women who are learning, and they're really good.
Young, like our age.
Yeah, younger than us.
No.
Children, let's call them children.
Let's call them children.
Shyamli, there's one question about what do parents say and what do your peers say when you take on an unconventional profession. But I also want to know a little bit about when you walk about on the streets and you have so many tattoos. What is the kind of sort of vision or the gaze that comes upon you, and how do you work through that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just the gaze, though. I think as a woman in India, you're used to the gaze. It comes with or without like anything really.
But I feel like it might be a longer, deeper, more inquisitive. Like what?
No, maybe even questions.
There is more.
Like questions. What is that? Yeah.
There is more though. I think like it becomes an actionable gaze. So either people like they think it's like the biggest icebreaker on the planet is to talk about your tattoo. And these are like complete strangers who will walk up to me, sort of like touch my tattoo. They mostly ask me if I'm married because they're so concerned about whether or not someone will marry me with tattoos. And then they also ask me if they're permanent, how much I got it for. Like I've seen people like cross the road on a crowded street, like proper crowded main road in Bombay.
Oh wow.
To ask me these questions. Mostly like, how much do you get it for? Like, why does that?
So does it feel like an intrusion, or do you feel like sometimes like a bit of a celebrity, like yeah?
No, I don't.
That's why it's
You like tattoos
secret.
too?
That's why Shyamli got into tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. So
she could
that
get
more
randos,
people would talk to me.
More randos to talk
Sweet.
to.
I guess I don't understand it. I do find it irksome. I don't know how to react to it mostly. If there's like some people, if a friend is around, I usually like hide behind them so that they can handle the situation, because I don't know how to not react poorly in those situations and how not to get mad. I have been asked like more ridiculous questions. Like I remember I used to take the metro from Delhi to Gurgaon for a long time when I was working with Devil's Tattoos. And on my way back from work, where already work is like handling so many people, I didn't really want to like handle more conversations, so I would have my headphones and I was like running down the Green Park Metro stairs, and I can feel that somebody's following me, and I'm like not concerned. This person catches up to me and like wants me to take my headphones off, so I was like, fine, and he goes, so is it true what they say? I'm like, what do they say? That tattooed women are like amazing in bed.
Someone actually asked.
Yeah, they're like really
In the Green Park
freaky.
Metro Station?
Like really freaky, because you guys are like emotionally broke.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow.
I mean,
And what did you say to
I
him?
didn't respond. I just like sort of shook my head, put my headphones back on, and I walked away. Like, how does one respond?
Yeah, and I think
Just something so ridiculous.
Yeah. How do you
And this
respond?
person, I think this person thought it would be like the biggest meet cute on the planet, and I would like totally just like tear off his clothes. Like,
That's what he was hoping for. That's how he probably
like,
replayed that incident in his head like 10 times.
Poor man thinks he's in Notting Hill Metro Station, whereas he's in Green Park.
No, even, do you think this would work anywhere? Would this work anywhere?
Never.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they say about like these cheesy, not even cheesy, creepy, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
This is like so many layers of like, why would you think that's a flattering thing, or something that I would
respond positively to, or respond at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's a completely different topic when it comes to like people having like social knowledge of how like people work and what people respond to. That's a completely different thing. But yeah, it just opens up gate for like a lot of unwarranted conversations, more than the gays, I think.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier as well. You said that it's less the gaze that makes you uncomfortable, and it's more the conversation, you know, like that's what you don't know what to do with that.
Sounds like more of a confrontation rather than a conversation.
Yeah, it
Someone
really is
trying to
actually. That's
add.
really true. There is no like, there's no easing into it. They get straight into it. Like, are you married? Now who's gonna marry you? Like, I don't care.
God.
Okay,
But you know, talking about easing into conversations, I'm sure you have a role to play of easing people into their tattoos when they come and lie in front of you. And I guess my question is, like, when people come to you for their tattoos, I think a lot of people also look at tattoos as a process of catharsis, or a process of expression, a process of identity. So when they do come to you as a tattoo artist, do you ever feel like a therapist?
Yeah.
for sure, right?
Yeah, I think it had come to a point where I was like deeply desensitized to, I did not want to hear it.
Yeah.
Especially when I was working for something at such a commercial scale that it was almost like doing someone's nails, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get that one and you get the other one. So everyone was just like a blur of faces. So people would unload on me like years of trauma, and they would think I'm their best friend, but I would not be able to tell them apart from each other because I was like so used to them just like doing that. And it did at points get heavy. I do remember when I just started and I didn't have that sort of like layer of self-preservation, I think. And I was like really receptive to people's emotions. It did get to me. I would have like really tough days of like listening to someone's story of like how they were from like rural Haryana, like women from rural Haryana, like sneaking away to get a tattoo, and if they like got caught, it would be like, it would mean a lot of damage to them, and like, so those sort of stories like did get to me. and yeah, people do share a lot, but I think now it's come to a point where I sort of know how to like handle a conversation that is heavy.
Be just a little bit disassociative, but
Yeah.
at the same time present.
And also sometimes maybe the tact to be able to change the subject if you're not in the mood for that conversation. Because
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
really,
yeah.
you're not obliged to really have to hear it, right? And I mean, people, of course, everyone has their issues, and you're right, like tattoos are very symbolic of like a personal journey that someone is in. For most people. For me, Anica though.
Do you know how we got our first tattoo?
Yeah, I know vaguely.
Can I please tell
New
you?
York, yeah.
It's like both of us went to university together, and when university was ending, we decided to take on this great American trip, and that's where we got our first tattoos.
Uni was where?
Uni was here
Yeah.
at
Okay,
Lady
okay,
Shri Ram
okay.
College, but we just went on a holiday. And the three of us decided to get this tattoo in New York.
The three of us didn't decide. You and Deepika decided, and you were like, it's going to be really fun. Like, it's going to be fun if the three of us get tattoos together.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a
She's
say.
still upset about that.
She is, because like hers is bigger than the rest of ours, and in a far more visible place. But that's her problem.
It's
was
like
her
it's
choice.
Pegasus. I used to ride. I don't even ride horses anymore, and I still went and got a tattoo, which was Pegasus. It's all
that's
like
fine,
on my shoulder.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't love it either. It's like the one tattoo that I have, and it's like it's not something I necessarily like love, you know. But that's also, I guess, with tattoos, we all know that they're just supposed to be that moment in your life at that point of time, and that's what you're sort of giving a permanent space to.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing about it, but there's also just it's almost nice that I had like that moment with my two best friends, and I will always
think
remember
that's
that. You know, when I'm like 50 or 60 or 80, I'll be like, oh yeah, I was in New York. Like I'll be telling this exact same story.
Yeah.
So there's something cool about that as well, and I guess that's what. Because people probably like, you know, they tattoo their like lovers' names and then they...
That's what my
tattoo
dad
over
said.
them.
So when I called him from New York and I said, we're getting a tattoo, and he said, beta, please don't get somebody's name. You know? And it was hilarious because she got a reluctant tattoo. I got I had a rule, I want to get a tattoo in a place where I can't see it. And my friend, who also really wanted to get a tattoo, wanted to get a tattoo in a secret place. And then what ended up happening, she got into such a secret place that she couldn't go swimming with her mom for like years because she didn't want her mom to find out.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many journeys that get unpacked
Yeah.
in that first moment of getting a tattoo. And I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
you are
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're thrown, you know, they're thrown
yeah.
at you, these experiences.
Yeah, because a lot of people do come for the first tattoos and they're petrified of like the reactions of their parents specifically.
Yeah.
And they like have to think in like elaborate terms about like, what if I go for a wedding and if I wear a blouse that sort of shows a blah, blah, blah. And they're thinking in all of these terms, and my thing is like, it's going to be on your body for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you cannot get it in a place where, I get it, right now you're 19, but you're not going to be 19 for the rest of your life. You will have more agency in a few years.
Yeah.
But your tattoo will remain there for the rest of your life. So don't make a decision based on like what your parents are going to say.
Agreed. Yeah.
Parents are usually going to disapprove of like...
Yeah. What makes you
begin with.
say no to a tattoo, apart from it being really tiny?
I think like the normal like names of your partners sort of stuff.
You wouldn't do
like-
that if someone came to you saying like...
No, I've just done it
yeah.
for so many years. I just like... I also, it's not about like my judgment of whether or not a tattoo is good or bad. It's about like whether I will be able to bring my A game to it.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm the sort of person, if I am bored of something, I cannot do it. I do it like half-assed, and I don't want to, then I can't sleep at night and shit. It's not great.
Yeah, no. And it's good to know that about yourself, and sort of like, and like you said, you've been doing this now for 11 years, right? So you have the ability to be like, this is what I'm enjoying, this is the bit that... And it's not any longer just, because you were saying, I think earlier that it was about like just making money for a bit, right? But it's not that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No, it should be. It should, given that I've like started my business now, I should have like a more business oriented mindset, and I may get into it when I'm starting to expand perhaps, but at this point in time it's just me. It's just like me and my work and like making enough money to like sustain a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
And in months that are like not bleak, but like slower, I'm okay like compromising and whatever that lifestyle is for the sake of like peace of mind for now.
And qualitative experience.
And quality, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's actually like funny that a lot of things that I say no to now are things that I really wanted to do before. So
yeah,
it's like I loved doing like tiny, delicate botanical work, which I hate doing now.
That's the first kind of work that we all got attracted to in the beginning, and we all came to you after.
Yeah.
We're like, I want something like that.
And now I'm bored.
You're bored of it.
And like,
But you have that.
I have that.
Shyamli did it for
I
you.
got a beautiful set over here, which I wanted it to be initially this small. But she's like, no. And I was actually
but it's still small.
It's still small, but I was quite surprised as to how much I would like her idea. So it came as as some flowers, cherry blossoms just falling down, right?
Yeah.
And I also use it as a joke tattoo. I show it to people and they're like, oh, it's so pretty. I was like, yeah, cherry blossoms. That's what my armpit smells like. So they're like, is that really a joke tattoo? I was like, in a way it is, you know. But I'm glad I heard you when you did say that, no, get it bigger because, and she had her reasons for it, you know, it fades and the color doesn't stick and da-da-da.
Yeah.
So it did end up looking quite beautiful.
It looks really nice.
Yeah.
I feel really well.
I want to add your tattoos. What was your first tattoo?
Actually, my first tattoo I wanted to hide from my parents as well. So till then, I'd only gotten a couple of piercings. Like I gotten like my eyebrow pierced, and like I remember the day that I got my eyebrow pierced, my mom was livid. So I was like, yeah, if that's the reaction that a piercing got, a tattoo is not going to go down really well. So I got like a pentacle because I was into like witchcraft and shit.
Like the pentagram?
Yeah, back in the day, and so I got it in my back. From a really shady tattoo parlor in Bangalore. It was my 18th birthday, and we like heavily discounted. From a shady tattoo
This is
parlor,
the story I was hoping for. When I asked this question, I was like, please not, like it should be some, you know, I went to the best tattoo artist and I really thought out what I wanted, and it's like, I love that tattoo.
I don't even think he used a new needle, because back in the day, they used to autoclave shit, so they would like reuse needles. Because,
That was really back in the day, huh? Then it's like vintage times.
No wonder you didn't want to tell your parents.
Tattoo.
I think it was also like a product of like complete ignorance. We didn't really know, like this is 18, my math is bad, but about like 15 years ago or something, like we didn't really know what was up. And what like good hygiene practices were. We were also like young.
Yeah, at 18 I don't think you necessarily even care. Like you're probably like, it's cheap, I can afford it, and this is what I want.
We begged him to make it cheap. Like he made me stencil my own tattoo, because he was like, if I'm giving you such a discount, then you stencil it. And I thought that's how it's done. I thought you're supposed to stencil your own tattoo, because that was my first tattoo.
Why, you didn't watch that Miami Ink or what? We all watched it. Did you watch that? Did you see how Kat used to be like, oh, what's your idea? What's your design? Okay, come back to me in half an hour. And then someone comes back with an iced tea or a bubble tea, and she's like stenciled it and made it and all of that.
I think Miami Ink became popular a little later. I mean, I had watched a couple of episodes of Miami Ink, I think, back in the day, but I wasn't really like paying attention to the details. I was in it for the drama.
She didn't even know she wanted to be a tattoo artist. She was
Back
like, I
then,
just did it because I
I
hated
take
my
that.
job and I just wanted to make some extra money on the side.
But talking about Miami Ink, since you are a female tattoo artist over here, I would be surprised if some channel hasn't come up to you and been like, oh, you look so cool, let us make a show on you. Has that ever happened?
It has?
Yeah, it literally happened as I started learning. This is when I didn't really know. I wasn't good. I just started learning maybe like within the first 3-4 months of me joining Devils as an apprentice. There was I think one of these big channels had approached Lokesh to start a reality TV sort of thing based on tattoos over there. And because I was the youngest and let's face it, I was the prettiest of the lot, they wanted to like showcase me and like have me as one of the main like protagonists of the stories, and of course Lokesh and like one other person, if I remember correctly. But the life they wanted me to lead was like way more exciting than the life that I already led. Not even that, it was just like they wanted to get into like my private life very deeply. And at that point in time, I was in a really like problematic relationship, which I was like I was already embarrassed by it. I don't want like people to see it. And I was absolutely certain my parents would not be cool with like them having camera crew around when we were just having, and they were like, yeah, you know, when you go out, you'll just have like this camera crew with you. I was like, I will lose all friends if you do that.
Who's going to hang out with somebody who can watch their every move? Well, now that's like, it's different now, right?
But at that point in time, they were like, cool, so we will get you fake friends and a fake boyfriend and fake parents. So we will...
Wow, that's far out.
But that is what reality TV is. Now I realize we think it's real, but this is exactly your experiences. Exactly it.
I was like, no, this sounds terrible. And then they were like, you know, in the tattoo studio, you will have fights with blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why can't you just show me tattooing? There's so much happening. Like, two people exchanging, having this like intimate. And they were like, no, this is boring. No one's going to watch it. And they're right.
No, we can test that because I think we're going to like this, because the moment Anica asked you this question, I was like, hey, the Citizen can produce this? No, I'm kidding.
Yo, you should. I think if you guys really record the conversations that happen in a tattoo studio.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It is, see, journalism is storytelling, right? That's what it is. So you can really broaden the scope of it. But today we're going to be filming you tattooing a client of yours. And sort of just getting a little bit of that process. And chatting a little more about your journey and even like the relationship with the client, like in terms of like, you know, what Anica was talking about. It is a very personal thing for somebody else, right? Amlan, thank you for letting us film this process. It is a really beautiful piece of art. So you guys, Shyamli and you sort of designed this together, or it's like largely been her? What's the process been like?
So I told her what I want and she came up with her design.
Shyamli, that looks cool. So that's how you sort of like, is that how it works? You do it first on a, like...
Yeah.
You guys
come over with me. So yeah, he sent me this email which was like Japanese theme.
Yeah.
Which had everything Japanese in it, like anime and like ramen bowl and like something else, some other stuff I don't remember. So I sort of... He's also a unique client in a way where like... He gives me a pretty wide berth when it comes to making like decisions, design decisions, which is nice.
Anica, have you seen this? Since you have your Japanese connection as well, are you getting inspired?
I am getting quite nostalgic rather. But you know, I always, I wanted to ask, you know, you have that graphic designer background, right?
Yeah.
So does your creative direction really come to fore when people come and just give you thematics and stuff like that?
Not just thematics, I think like it gave me a sense of like design process is very like problem solving oriented, so I think it gave me that at least. Where I need a brief.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I need a problem to solve and I'll solve it. Yeah. So that way it was helpful.
Are your favorite sort of projects something that you have a lot of like creative control over? Right?
Yeah. Like a vague theme that I can run with.
Yeah.
Is my favorite thing.
And have you ever diversified outside tattoo, like painting and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, I think it's a bit of a secret dream of mine. It's not that secret. It's somewhat of a dream of mine to like eventually transition into a space where I'm also painting. Like canvases and also like printmaking. I want to do a lot of shit. I want to have a published graphic novel. I just have...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like, you know what I love about creative people, and I've noticed this because Anica and I, as part of this podcast, we've actually, I think, focused primarily on creative people. It's never one thing. It's never, oh, okay, I just do tattoos and I'm passionate about that. It's always, there's more to what you're interested in terms of like your art.
Yeah, because it's, at least for me, it's an act of storytelling.
Yeah,
true.
Actually, somebody said something really interesting to me recently about how a painting, for instance, like fine art, not something like this, but fine art is about like answering a question for yourself, or at least like delving into the question for yourself. Meanwhile, like more design-oriented things such as this offer you like instant gratification in terms of like I make a design and I make a tattoo.
Yeah.
So it's not, it doesn't fulfill like every part of me, I think. This is a medium, which is why I would like to also be proficient in other things. I'm not yet.
But you get the space and time to like sort of explore it.
Not
as
really,
much.
not really. Like I would like to. I don't think my time management skills are that great.
And her travel schedule is on.
As we know.
It's on.
Yeah.
I almost felt like telling her, send me a Google Calendar request.
I
Yeah.
wish I had a proper Google Calendar.
Well, that's the story of all creators.
Yeah, I
isn't it?
try. I
Yeah.
try.
I also want to ask you guys a little bit about like tattoos in India, like the history of tattoos, because you know I've noticed a lot of people, like, you know, for instance, my daughter's nanny, she's from Darjeeling, and she has a bunch of tattoos. Like
Right.
she's like literally the last person who you think would have tattoos. So she's a small, petite little thing with like very from obviously a conservative home, and yet obviously she's just filled with tattoos because they're part of some tribal symbolism. So I don't know if you've looked into that at all, Shyamli.
I mean, India has a deep and rich history of tribal tattoos. I'm from Orissa. I'm not from here. So my dad's grandmother, who I actually did have the honor of like meeting and having a relationship with when I was younger, she used to tattoo in her tribal village.
Oh, cool.
And it's a very, very, very small village. Like, it's probably like, I remember visiting when I was really young. It was like just a few, you know, like huts and like families that were around. So that it does exist, and it still exists. It's like ongoing, but it's diminishing. Some people are actually like involved in documenting these arts because they are dying.
Yeah.
Because like the tribal families are dispersing and like getting more and more integrated in like the urban settings, because that's where like sustenance is and money is.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys have heard of Moonaga.
No, I have not.
He's gotten tattooed by Moonaga.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Is he like like somebody with tribal heritage?
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool.
Yeah. He actually works really hard in like documenting and preserving
Yeah.
tribal tattoo cultures, mostly from the Northeast.
Yeah.
And he travels a bunch. He's just like a treasure trove of knowledge. Somebody to really like look into if you guys want proper
That's very
stories.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, there is that whole element. I mean, it is an art form, but it's an art form with a very deep, rich history. Cultural history.
Yeah.
Which
I mean,
makes
from
it
the
interesting.
tribal, I think there was also
Yeah.
during the partition time, people used to put their names on there just in case they get lost, and there was a really dark thing to it that if they're not found and eventually found not alive, they can be identified,
Oh my god, that's fucked up.
right?
Armies used to do that.
Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah, so you know.
Who does that still?
Army.
Oh,
Army, yeah.
Not sure about Indian army, but some army, some like
Right.
get their name.
Just in
So
case.
that if they find the body,
Yeah.
then they know exactly who it is.
Yeah.
That's dark.
It
Yeah,
is
pretty
dark. It is dark. A lot of displacement, migration actually has been. There is a history of tattooing a certain way, also marking people. You know, when they need to be identified,
Yeah.
is like stemming from
So
that.
where did this sort of like, I don't know, like we've spoken about how people's parents have been adverse to them getting tattoos. Where did this moral connection with tattooing come from? Like,
I think it's a fairly urban.
Yeah, it's like a more modern phenomenon.
It's also like classist in its, I think.
Yeah.
Origin.
Yeah.
Like it is seen as something of, because it was the tribals who were
Yeah. Exactly.
retaining that tradition, I think, and it was also, I don't think it helped to have the British come in with their like churches and their values back in the day, which did dictate, like this was like hedonistic practices. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably just sums it all up. I remember when I was in Japan, I mean, speaking of like tattoos being this thing, I wanted to go to, what is that, like onsen? Is that
Yeah,
what it's
yeah,
called?
yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to go to an onsen, and somebody, we called them and they said, if you have tattoos,
Yeah,
you
you're
can't
not
come.
allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just very shocked, but I think I
Yeah.
asked you and you said it's because it was a way for them to keep the Yakuza
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
So
exactly.
the Yakuza
yeah.
gets the tattoo in Japan, and if you need to be a tattoo artist, you need to have a doctor's license.
Yeah.
Even in Canada, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And Korea.
And
Yeah,
Korea?
is it?
Yeah.
I went
South
to this
Korea.
tattoo parlor and they're like, I have to get this and that.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
expensive and it's almost like fucking impossible to get for a lot of people, which is why Korea, which has this bustling tattoo scene till recently, most tattoo shops were underground.
Right.
Yeah. And
Like
even
the
Korea,
first, like the first place you got your tattoo at, huh?
Yeah.
it was far from underground. It was actually like possibly one of the more legit shops, but it sucked because there was no like standard in India back then regarding anything. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he also like just tattooed me because he was trying to hit on my friend.
Oh.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah,
That's
we used to
just-
totally pimp her out.
I like how Amlan is just like listening to this conversation with like complete ease in his face. Is obviously paining to some degree, but he's just like
No,
chilling.
I'm seeing his subtle flinches. I can't keep my eyes on. Like, this man is in pain. People have some respect.
This is still bearable than the last.
Last time, yeah.
The thing is that once the hills, once your skin opens up, it pains more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I think for people that are tuning in, there are probably some who don't have tattoos, and I know that the primary question for people before getting tattoos is how painful is it and how much is it going to cost? Like those are the two major considerations. Does the pain? Do you get more used to the pain? Like no, it's always painful.
No.
You guys are really vigorously shaking your heads. So it's always painful, but what is it then? Like what keeps you going back for more?
It's the end result.
The end result. It's like, I think that's what it is. It's just art. I mean, this is a beautiful piece, honestly. So
I think
having
it's
that-
also, it's not unbearable pain. It's just unpleasant, and it also depends on where you're getting it. He's getting it at a
He's
more
the most
sensitive.
sensitive,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely one of the more sensitive areas of the body. And he's getting a big piece with like shading, and it's elaborate.
Yeah.
Which is why I think like it does hurt. But in his previous tattoos, it's been like very few moments of him actually being in pain enough to like show.
Yeah. Talking about pain, I feel like Indian women, who go regularly to the parlor and get like their waxing and all done and are used to monthly pain doses.
Yeah.
Are they better at getting
Yeah.
tattoos? I knew
Dude,
it.
actually
I
pretty
knew
good,
it.
yeah.
The Kamala aunties trained them in the parlor. Huh?
Dude, there's nothing more painful. I've given birth and I can tell you there's nothing more painful than a bikini wax.
Dude,
Oh
yeah,
my
fuck that
God.
shit.
Let's just be very clear. So this, I now changed my mind, cannot be even remotely as painful.
Like I will still get a casual tattoo if I like meet a friend of mine whose work I really like. I'll be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it today, do a session today. But when I have to get a bikini wax, I have to prepare myself for the entire week.
Yeah.
And I go fed, like I make sure I've eaten something.
Lest you pass out.
I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it work if people like take a painkiller and come to you?
I don't think so. I don't know. I do know like one of my friends who's also a tattoo artist. She goes into a session lit. Like she's American, so she's got like a plethora of like, I don't know, like Xanax and no. So she gets high before a tattoo and like all sorts of drugs and painkillers, and then she gets tattooed. I mean, this is also in the past. I don't know if she's still doing that. But unless you're that level of high, I don't think it really helps to be on anything.
Yeah, I think you also just understand that nobody goes in and gets their first tattoo is such a large tattoo, right? There's a process to it. You start with something small and then you're kind of like, okay, this pain is bearable. I'm willing to put myself through it again. And
You'd
then
be
you kind of like,
surprised though.
I've seen people with like
Yeah,
big
yeah.
ones first that.
what?
Yeah,
First
yeah,
tattoo, large ones?
Yeah.
Guys.
More and more. And actually women,
One of
surprisingly.
my tattoo artists told me that it's easier to tattoo a women.
Women, yeah, that's what Shyamli is saying as well. It's easier to tattoo women because I think there's some truth to this, that their threshold of pain is
Yeah, I
a
think
lot
so.
more.
I mean, we go to the parlor, then we PMS and all of that. We are so used to our monthly doses of,
Uncomfortable pain.
Yeah.
scheduled pain.
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
So yeah.
I think women are more apprehensive because women are like, oh, I'm just so delicate, because they've been conditioned to think that,
Yeah.
and then they get to the session and they're like, oh, this is actually not so
Not
bad.
so
I'm like,
bad.
yeah, you think you're delicate. It's actually like a lot of I'm not going to name any names, but a few good friends of mine can't even get like small tattoos without like a spray of the numbing pain.
Numbing thing, yeah.
It's cute, yeah.
Yeah, it's cute. Okay, we are going to wrap up now because we've sort of been chatting for a long time. But Shyamli, like, I want to ask you, what are, I mean, again, a cliched question. I hate asking cliched questions, but I do know that our
there's some
viewers,
truth to it.
yeah, there's some truth to it. But in terms of like your art and like your business, where do you see it going? Like, is this, do you see it diversifying?
I would like to get in like maybe like one more or like two more artists. They don't even have to be tattoo artists.
Yeah.
Honestly, but it does help to have more people around. It gives you a sense of like, you don't get complacent. There's like learning involved when you have like other people around.
The joy of co-creating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, like now, like the younger generation, for them, like you guys have already broken the barriers a little bit, right? Like, let's say tattooing as a career path for an urban woman in India.
Yeah.
You've already paved the path a little bit. So now more and more sort of younger people can maybe watch this podcast, see how it's working out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a path that they can follow.
I hope so, yeah. I hope so. I know like there's a couple of young girls whose work I already really admire, and they're very young. They've just started in like the past couple of years, who are going to blow up. So I think the next generation of artists is going to be one to sort of watch out for, and like see what changes they bring about in the industry, and like how people approach the idea of tattooing. I think the taboo is also going to like slowly fade further and further. So what people get tattooed, the size of the tattoos is going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
design language is totally gonna
exactly.
change
Yeah,
around that.
I think it's going to get like weirder, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amlan agrees.
Yeah, he's like, I'm here for
I'm
it.
here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah.
I will give you my broad brief. But you know, Shyamli, I do want to do a note of congratulations. You know, I think you spent years and years training, taking a big risk in your life, and here we are in your very own studio.
Yeah.
So congrats, girl. Yeah.
I'm surprised too.
Yeah. And just a public notice, Shyamli does not do small tattoos.
I know, that was the funny story. Anica and I wanted to get tattoos, and we asked Shyamli, but our tattoos were too insignificant for her, which is fine by me because I actually did not want that tattoo in the first place. So I was just like, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Soon, Anica, your next piece better be a nice big one.
I'm thinking of one. I'll probably come to her only for it. I'm thinking of a nice spot and a nice theme for her.
Nice. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So that'll be good.
Graduate.
But yeah.
All right, let's go.
Okay, Shyamli, thanks
Yeah.
so much for speaking to us, and you have been so good at controlling your pain face. You're so just like us women.
Just smiling to it.
Thanks for keeping them distracted.
Yeah, and thanks for being part of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, Shyamli, thanks so
Aman.
much.
Yo, thanks for you guys also to come down.
Always.
It's been so nice
Okay, guys,
having
let's
you.
roll up this thanks now.
Okay,
Like,
oh, yeah.
It's done. We're on too long. Okay.